So for our panel on the social influencer, we're very fortunate to have Eyal moderating. Gil is the pioneer of influencer marketing, having introduced the idea while acting as COO of Mobley, where he worked with names such as Serena Williams, Leonardo DiCaprio, Adam Levine, Zendaya Coleman, and Stephen Curry. He foresaw the opportunities influencer marketing could present within media and co-founded HYPR, where he acts as CEO. He wanted to revolutionize influencer marketing by providing tools that help analyze the audience of every celebrity and influencer in the world, as well as automate the ability to run measurable, targeted campaigns at scale. HYPR currently serves several hundred Fortune 500 brands and agencies, and Gil is joined by influencers Grace Atwood and Alexa Mehraban, who will help further introduce. Thank you, Gil.
Can you hear me? Can I be heard? Okay, they're saying yes. Excellent. So thank you guys for joining us. This is going to be a relatively informal think fireside chat kind of thing. If you have a question, just raise your hand and yell it out. And I want to take the chance to tell you a little bit more about my guests. So we'll start with Grace on my right. Grace is the founder of The Stripe, which was born out of her passion for sharing her favorite things. The Stripe is a lifestyle blog with focus on fashion, beauty, personal style, wellness, and travel. Prior to running her site full-time, she held the marketing and social media roles at companies like BaubleBar, Coty, and Procter & Gamble. Grace has been featured in multiple press outlets, InStyle, Style Watch Magazine, Women's Wear Daily, Entrepreneur Glamour, and The Today Show, and so forth. And she's, in my mind, an example of how an influencer should build their career, and I've been watching her grow over the past year or two. To her right is Alexa Mehraban of Eating NYC, born and raised in New York, professional eater and the founder of Eating NYC, a food-focused brand, covers restaurants, travel, fitness, and luxury lifestyle around the world. It was founded in 2014, currently has close to 290,000 followers on Instagram alone. She's become an influential brand in herself. Alexa is known for her love of cheese, which I was informed a few months ago, and now I love her myself. Alexa was listed as one of the top 30 people in food by Adweek in 2016, featured by CNN, Wall Street, CBS, and Zagat, amongst others. So maybe let's welcome them. Now, this is going to be a really tough interview. I'm just warning you from now, from the start, unless the audience wants to lob you some softballs. But why don't we start with something simple? How did you become an influencer? What happened? When did it happen? And when did you start considering yourself an influencer?
Well, for me, I really started it as a hobby. So my blog started 8 years ago when people, no one was making any money from this, and people made fun of me for, having this website on the internet that I was sharing these different things and posting pictures on. So I definitely know I never wanted to be an influencer or a blogger. I didn't even know what that was. I just started it out of something I really enjoyed doing. I think there was another part of the question.
Just when did you suddenly realize, hey, I'm an influencer?
So I started 8 years ago, but I guess it was really 3 or 4 years ago when, I realized I was earning more from my platforms versus my day job. And it was time to, really either focus on it and make it my full-time career or just keep doing my day job.
Alexa?
So similar to Grace, I started Eating NYC just as a hobby. I was writing for a lifestyle website and fell into food writing organically and really loved it, and decided actually to start an Instagram account. It was right when Instagram was becoming really popular, 4 years ago. And I just started really for fun and then pursued a career in the hospitality industry. I worked at a PR agency and in-house for a restaurant group, and like you, Grace, it kind of got to a point where I was seeing the potential of pursuing Eating NYC full-time was kind of more exciting and better and could make more money than what I was doing at my full-time job. So I've been doing Eating NYC now full-time for almost a year.
And when you guys say you were making more money, was it because you were making really little money in your regular job, or was it because this was really blowing up?
I'd say a little bit of both. I think people who work in PR and social media, it's not the highest paying jobs out there, but I'd say just the opportunities that were coming my way, the brands that were approaching me and the travel opportunities, and it was just kind of hard to pass all that up while sitting at a desk for, 8 hours a day.
I mean, I'm old. I was 10 years into my career at that point. I think it was, money's money, but it was also the ability to work for myself and to travel and things. I'd been at a startup where I was 32 years old and had 2 weeks of vacation. So it was really, really nice to be able to work for myself and say yes to more press trips and going on vacation and working remotely.
So you brought it up. What is your favorite part of your new job or your newfound life, and what's the worst part?
I think the best part is, having the opportunity and ability to do, things like this, to be able to travel, to be able to meet really exciting people, chefs, celebrities that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet. And least favorite part? I think probably, the lack of direction in the whole, social media influencer sphere. It's also new, and I feel like we're all kind of paving the way for ourselves and evolving with the industry.
I would say the best part is like the freedom and the flexibility and the ability to be your own boss and kind of set the pace for your day. And, I'm a night person, so I can get up at 9 a.m. and be at my desk at 10, but then maybe I'm working a little bit later. I think the worst part is that a lot of people don't take it very seriously. In my personal life, in my dating life, people say to me things like, oh, so you just post pictures of yourself and that's what you do. Like, maybe 5-10% of my work week is spent creating those images, and the rest of it is dealing with contracts, working with lawyers, working with accountants. You are a full-time business owner when you are an influencer or a blogger or whatever you want to call it. And I don't think that people necessarily respect how much work goes into it. I work more hours than I did at my day job, and I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. But when you're spending 60, 70 hours a week working for yourself or whatever, you just want to get a little bit of respect, because people don't understand. And I think it just comes from a place of people not necessarily understanding everything that goes into it. And once you educate them, they get it. But every day, it's like I'm explaining that to somebody else.
Yeah, I can, from my perspective, I see it. I just recently read a poll that said that 54% of teens in Europe want to be internet famous. That's their career of choice. I think second was lawyer or something. And it was very clear from that they weren't. They were thinking about the posting cool pictures and getting likes, and not about the dealing with the lawyers and all that other stuff. And my company works with the people who hire influencers. We don't represent any influencers, but we do work with a lot of brands. So we see the other side of it, and sometimes I just say to them, guys, there's a person on the other side. So what's a great, unique opportunity that you've come across that you wouldn't have come across otherwise? Is there something that is really memorable that wouldn't have happened to you otherwise?
I would say the experiences. So I last year was an ambassador for L'Oreal, and as part of that, I got to go to the SAG Awards. We got to walk the red carpet. We got to go to the after party. It was one of the most memorable experiences of my life, and I never would have gotten that opportunity without it. And then other things like trips. I just got back from London. I was there with a jewelry designer, and they treated us to this amazing dinner in the middle of the countryside in this old mansion. It felt like we were in Downton Abbey. So I think that, perks like that, things like these grand experiences that brands create for the influencers, I would never get to experience that otherwise.
Yeah, I would say also the experiences too, just being able to go to things that I wouldn't normally. I went to the Cayman Food and Wine Festival, the South Beach Food and Wine Festival, and these are all things that I would have loved to go to, and I was so fortunate to be able to join those events as press and experience, all those things that are great.
So Alexa, you and I were on, was it CBS or NBC? I forget, one of the
CBS,
CBS News, and I know how that happens for me. That girl Amy over there fishes it for me. I have to beg them to put me on the shows. I know they were hunting you down. So what's that like? You guys wake up and you have like an open inbox of people asking you to do stuff, or how does that process work?
Kind of like that. I mean, I manage everything myself right now. I don't have like an agent or anything. So what that means for me is I'm constantly checking my email at all hours of the day and kind of navigating the opportunities that come my way and seeing what's a fit and being my own decision maker and all of those things.
I think 2 years ago brought on a manager, but it's not with one of the larger agencies. It's somebody who I can just pass things on to, or if it's working with a friend or a brand I have a really strong relationship, I'll just manage it myself. And that's been really helpful, just to have someone who's navigating all those contracts and the red tape and also fighting on my behalf, because when you're talking about money, sometimes it's a lot easier to have somebody say, no, sorry, she won't do it for less than XYZ, as opposed to them talking to me directly, where I feel like I'm a bad person for asking for what I deserve.
So you brought up a touchy point, money. How do you balance staying authentic? Because it's something that both of you do really well, but it's something that in the industry is often done really poorly. How do you, you need to make a living and you need to pick opportunities that will pay you money, but on the other hand, I'm sure you don't want to promote something you don't really believe in. So what do you do?
I think, you really have to know your brand, and you have to know, what works for you. If it's, I don't know, a food brand that wasn't on brand, a clothing brand, a product, I think just learning to say no is one of the most important things that I've learned in this process, and knowing, yes, we are doing this to make a living, but there are people who are watching you, and if you do something that isn't authentic, people can see and read through that. So learning when to say no is definitely really important.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I'm lucky in that I run a lifestyle site, so it's all about just the things that I like. So there's a lot of different opportunities. There's clothing brands, there's food brands, there's travel, there's all the different things. So because of that, I am brought quite a few of opportunities, and I can say no to a lot of them because they are just, if it's not something I would use, I won't talk about it.
And you guys brought up authenticity, which is a term that pops up everywhere in the industry. Influencer marketing is all about authenticity. I think everybody in this audience probably saw LeBron James promoting Kia. To me, that's an example of the opposite of authenticity, is eating Fruit Loops at the beginning of the commercial. And I just don't believe he eats Fruit Loops. Like, how do you think he eats really healthy stuff? And then he's like, his gardener is making noise. He has nowhere to go, so he goes to sit in his car for some peace and quiet. And his car is a Kia. I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. But what goes into authenticity? Because now all these regulations have come in. You're required to disclose when you post promotional content. Where do you draw the line and say, how do you stay authentic in a world where everybody knows that influencers are getting compensated and that you're required to add hashtags or disclose in other ways?
I mean, for me, from day one, I've disclosed everything, whether it's a gifted item, an ad, or what have you. It drives me absolutely bonkers because, I follow hundreds of other bloggers, and we're all getting the same opportunities, and you see that, like, you're putting ad and someone else isn't. I think that that's changed because the FTC is cracking down so hard. But I think it's always just being super, super honest with your readers. Like, I respond to every blog comment. I respond to every Instagram comment. I respond to every Instagram DM. I mean, some days that makes you feel like your head's gonna pop off. But I think because of that, I've built a super strong relationship with all of my readers, and they really trust me. And, I'll get emails about products, whether they're sponsored or not, and I'll, go into even more detail with them on that. But I think it's really just important to only feature brands that you genuinely love and use, whether it's sponsored or not, and then to just really focus on maintaining that relationship with your reader, because your readers are your customers, and if they're dissatisfied or they feel like they don't have that relationship with you anymore, things are going to change.
Yeah, I think that was really well said. I think it is so important. I mean, I don't even see it as an option. If you're promoting something, you have to write ad, the regulations, and similar to you, I've seen people doing the same things and not writing ad, and I'm always like very confused by it. I think you know, like you said, being honest and telling people what's an ad and what isn't is just so important. And it is a way that people trust you when they see, oh, like she's working with this brand, and it is, you know, they see it's organic and they like it. People respond well to that content, and it's just another way for people to grow to trust you and engage with you, want to engage with you even further. So.
And you brought up this situation where you see influencers violating the rules. And at HYPR, we track a lot of social media posts, and what we're seeing is that there's this behavior with a lot of influencers where they'll acquire fake followers, or they'll acquire fake engagement around their posts. And it's natural to understand what's driving that. There are different ways to acquire that for cheap. But what it does is that for influencers like you, which have a genuine audience, suddenly you have people who appear to the untrained eye to be your peers, but they really don't have the same quality of an audience. And what is that doing to the industry? What do you think is going to happen there? Do you think brands are getting more sophisticated in identifying that's happening?
I hope so. It's really hard to say. I always say that at the end of the day, what you have to do is focus on the things that you can control, and that's why I'm putting less focus on Instagram, because if people are going to go buy followers and buy likes and things, like, I keep at my Instagram and it's an important part of my business, but my biggest priorities are my website, which I own. And I guess you could buy website traffic if you want, but that's not something I would even think about or know how to do. And then my email list, because you will always own those emails, unless they unsubscribe, and you'll always own your site and your traffic there. So I think that for me, it's not that Instagram isn't important, but everyone's cheating over there, and I'm going to just use Instagram to drive traffic back to my site, and my site's always going to be my biggest focus.
I would say, I think for brands, I think they've gotten just a lot smarter over the past few years when picking which influencers to work with. You know, people have become hip to, well, this is just a repost account, and this account is, you can just kind of tell, I think, if you, maybe we're just so used to looking at these things, but I just do think that, if you're working with a bigger brand that has funding and they're doing their research and they're seeing engagement, and if you, are looking at the ratios, you can see what's authentic and what's not. I definitely think the Instagram algorithm has made it harder for, I think, all of us, but like you said, I think it's, the emails, it's the contacts, it's really more about your brand and the value and those followers that you have, rather than the number of, likes you're getting or the number of this. It's really more about the value and the integrity of the brand rather than the numbers. So
I agree. And the other thing I was going to say is, I've had a lot of brands say to me, oh, we noticed that you don't do Instagram loop giveaways, and that's why we like working with you, because the Instagram loop giveaways, I don't know, is that a big thing in the food world?
No, but I've seen them before.
Like, they're in the fashion space, they're all over the place, and it becomes so obvious, like, that people are cheating, because you're not technically buying followers, but you're buying that prize and then just getting those people to follow you.
So just maybe explain what a loop giveaway is.
Oh, a loop giveaway, for those who don't know, is I don't know, anywhere from like 5 to 20 to even more bloggers they'll all post the same image, and then they'll tag the next blogger, and it goes in a loop. So you have to follow all the bloggers on the loop, and then you'll be and leave a comment, and then you're entered to win a prize.
It's interesting. I was at a conference a while back, a few weeks ago, and there was an influencer, I won't say her name, on stage explaining how to become an influencer, and that was that was a primary piece of advice, and I just stood there saying, no,
don't do that.
Yeah, that's not good. And the reason is obviously because you want to have an engaged audience. You don't want to have just people who, follow you for the wrong reasons or don't really care about what you post. And I agree. I think brands are becoming smarter, and that's where the opportunity is for people like you. So we talked about brands getting smarter. Have you seen influencer marketing evolve in other ways since you started that maybe have changed recently or over the years?
For me, in the food space, it's totally transformed. When I started eating NYC, I was one of the first food people in the space, and it wasn't until 6 to 8 months that I started that someone reached out to me for a collaboration. and it's just been like a crazy amount of changes since then. It's gone from receiving product just simply, or getting invited somewhere just to be invited, to now receiving NDAs and contracts and so many different forms that I don't even know how many there are now. The whole industry has just been, I'm sure, for fashion and lifestyle it's different, but in terms of food, it's been crazy how much has happened in the past, even just a few months alone. So.
Yeah, I would say brands are definitely getting smarter, and I think they're starting to understand that, no, you can't, you can't trade product for posts. Sometimes, that's fine, but brands are realizing they can't just expect you to do X, Y, and Z and do work in exchange for, I don't know, lipstick. In the beginning, I would get asked to do the craziest things for something that was maybe worth $5.
That's something that creatives in general have often suffered from. I know DJs who've been said, you get the opportunity to play our party. Yeah. Painters, we'll display your stuff for free. But I have a confession. I started a company in this space a few years ago, and it's really because I always wanted to be an influencer. I always want to be famous, and I have no idea how. So if there's anyone like me in the audience who hasn't already sold their soul to the corporate devil, how do they become influencers? How do they follow in your footsteps? What's some tips?
Well, that's a tough question, considering neither of us had planned to do that. I think if you want to be an influencer, I think you have to really have a mission and a message that you want to share with people, and you have to be really passionate about what you're doing. Both of our blogs came from a passion, and if I didn't love what I did every day, I don't think I would be here right now. I don't know if that helps answer your question, but say, really know what your brand is, really know the message you want to share with people, and really be consistent with how you're sharing that.
Yeah, I would say the same thing, and this is probably a little discouraging, but I would say that nowadays you can't kind of start it the way that we did, just being these are things I like, without a business plan, without, any sort of a strategy. I think you have to be super, super strategic. You have to post at all of the right times. You have to have something that's different and innovative and interesting, a very clear, to your point, sense of brand. You have to treat it like a business from day one.
How much of it is art versus science? Do you have data about when you should post something? Do you know which types of posts? Or is it more I have a gut feeling?
There's definitely a lot of science, I guess, behind it, but Instagram is so annoying now, frankly, with the new algorithm, because the posts don't show in the order that they're posted. So before, when they would say post, around peak hours, that was great. We were all doing that, and now it doesn't really matter what time you post. What matters more is how much engagement you get within the first 10 minutes of your post going up, which I guess timing does matter for that, but not as much. I wish I could say there was more science to it, but right now I don't feel like there is. That's definitely frustrating, but I would say more art for me at the current moment.
I think it's definitely a very fine balance, because there is this science where you have to post at the right time, and there's always every day there's a new article about how to beat the Instagram algorithm and what you should be doing. But at the same time, your photos need to be really beautiful, and you need to be telling a story. And I'm a nerd, so I love the science part, but the art part is actually what comes harder to me, is the photography and what have you. So I think that if you're not a great photographer, you need to hire a great photographer. With what you do, you take so many food shots, the colors and planning things so that it looks good to whatever's posted next. There's this app in my phone called Planoly, which helps you to plan out your Instagram feed and see how everything's going to look in the grid, because they also say that if you're trying to get new followers, those first 9 photos are the kind of your resume, almost they're speaking to what your brand is. So you need those first 9 photos to always look really nice. They have to look good together. So there's the art part. There's so many weird things that go into it.
Do you guys, are you celebrities? Do you have a glamorous life? Do you have celebrity friends?
No, and I never wanted to be famous. I hate the word influencer, and I hate the word Insta famous, and I don't my life isn't glamorous. Most days I'm in sweatpants, like at my desk, working my ass off. I mean, when I have photo shoot days, I put makeup on and I put on my cute outfit. When I go out at night, of course, I change into something nice. But my life is so far from glamorous.
Yeah, same for me. Can be found in sweatpants, sitting at my desk, like most hours. Yeah.
Yesterday I realized I'd been in the same outfit for 2 days on Instagram stories because, I mean, I did change, but I put my nightgown that I was wearing back on and I was like, oh my God, I just showed that 2 days in a row.
I was going to wear sweatpants here, but Amy wouldn't let me. But your friends, like, do you have regular friends or do you have Instagram friends?
Oh my God, none of my friends are bloggers. They make fun of what I do.
Yeah, I mean,
they're nice about it, but it's funny.
Yeah, I mean, all of my friends are my friends from before I started. I definitely became friendly with people who do what I do, but definitely not any celebrity friends or anything like that.
Yeah, I've made friends with other bloggers and Instagrammers and what have you, but it's nice to have, peers. It's kind of like they're like coworkers almost.
Yeah.
Do you get recognized when you go places?
Sometimes people will come up to me and say hi, and I say hi or give them a high five.
Yeah, the last time it happened, I was on a first date, so that was a little weird.
So, since you brought it up, the first date, was that somebody, do you get hit on, by people on your Instagram?
No, mostly women follow me because they want to know like the details of my outfits and things. Boys don't really care about that.
Okay, cool. So what's the plan? Like, what's next for you guys? Obviously, you've, in my mind, really stood out in this like Wild West industry. And on the other hand, you're both really young. Your careers have a long way to go. Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? What's going on?
So I think, for me, since I've started doing this full time, I really had to think about how I want to take my brand off of Instagram and build followings in other places. So, I've always had a website, and I'm focusing on revamping that and including a search engine and kind of growing my fans in other places and working on an apparel line, which will be launching soon, kind of foodie-themed apparel. So kind of testing out the waters and exploring different passions and seeing what works. But I definitely think it's important to explore other platforms and, grow your follower bases in other places. So,
yeah, for me, and I'm not very young. I'm 36. Like I've got a lot more ahead of my career, but I had to clarify.
Perspective.
So, what I was going to say is my two biggest focuses for this year are email marketing and growing my newsletter. There's a way that readers can get my posts in their inbox every day, but every Friday I also have a newsletter that goes out in the afternoon, and that's just exclusive content that they can't get anywhere else, but it also drives them back to my site. So now Fridays have become my best traffic day. And then the other thing is video. So video is like super scary, and it's so much work, and it can be really expensive. But if you look at people on Instagram and people and website traffic, it's nothing compared to what these YouTube girls are getting in terms of traffic and what have you. So I'm trying to do a new video every week. When I travel, I take my camera with me and film like a little vlog, and my readers are responding really well to it. So I think that video is kind of the future, and it's very, very intimidating, but it kind of goes back to just getting started, and it isn't perfect right now, but I hope that it'll get better and better as I keep doing it.
Are collaborations a big thing? Like, do you actively look for opportunities to collaborate with other influencers?
With other influencers?
Yeah, so let's say, you're a foodie and there's somebody else who's a foodie, you're traveling to LA and they're in LA. Would you like intentionally go meet them so you can create content together so that you can share it to both audiences?
I would say, yeah, if I'm going to a new city and there's another foodie there, I always like to get in touch and meet them, and I always think we can learn something from each other. And in New York, I eat out a lot of the time with other influencers, but don't really collaborate with them the same way I would collaborate with a brand or something like that.
Yeah, when I was first getting started, I did a lot of collaborations with other influencers. I think that's a really good way to grow, you know, to find an influencer the same size as you and to do a giveaway together, or to guest post on each other's blogs, or show them on your Instagram or whatever. Right now, it's not a priority, but it's a good idea.
Who do you guys follow on social media?
I guess for me, I follow a lot of, you know, food media outlets, a lot of other influencers, and then like food influencers, and then just other people that I find inspiring in different areas. So whether that's lifestyle, fashion, fitness, I think it's important to see what people are doing in other industries.
I want names, come on.
Names?
Yeah, who's the coolest person on social media not on the stage?
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I don't have a favorite. I feel like I can learn something different from everyone that I follow, but I don't think I don't have a favorite that I feel strongly about.
All right, I'll let you off the hook.
Yeah. I don't have a favorite either. I'd say my feed is kind of a mix of fashion and food, and then also cats and dogs and animals that are really cute.
All right, I'm going to let you guys off the hook, even though that was really mine is Alyssa Milano. Yeah. We have 5 minutes left. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to ask a question? Yeah, we have somebody over there.
Hello. All right. So, hi, my name is Jabari Jefferson. I attend Delaware State University, and I aspire to be a social media influencer. I'm on Instagram, and I want to know how to basically turn my following that I have on social media into supporters of my brand, and then ultimately turning that into income. So, if you all can offer some advice on that, I appreciate that.
So how does he turn his followers into real supporters, and how does he monetize that?
I would say that as you post, it's really about developing a relationship with your followers, so responding to every one of their comments and like really like kind of taking interest in them, not making it just about yourself. And then in terms of monetization, I think that'll come as you build a following. I never actively reached out to brands for collaborations. It just will start as you build that audience and you have something to offer those brands.
Yeah, I would say engaging with the people who are already following you are so important. It's probably the best thing that you can do.
And I agree with the don't monetize unless you get to a certain scale, and you'll know because brands will start finding you.
Hi, my name's Rihanna. I go to Peace. I have a question for Alexa, though. When you go to the restaurants, do they just like comp the food, or like do they pay you for the marketing? Like, how does that work? I'm so interested.
So usually with restaurants, they'll invite me in, and it's pretty much like an exchange. There's no like guarantee, but they say we'd love to have you come in, and in hopes that you would post a picture on your social media.
So do you post the picture if you have a good experience there, or you just post the picture because they reached out to you and?
Yeah, I would say like 100% of the time I do post a picture.
Even if what if you had a bad experience? Like, would you?
Well, I'm really, really picky about where I go, so
okay.
I do a lot of research before I go somewhere, so that doesn't happen.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Monica Darrow and I go to St. John's University, and my question is for both of you. With so many, lifestyle blogger, pages and like a bunch of foodie pages, how do you always distinguish yourself from the competition?
How do you distinguish yourself?
That's really hard to say. Like, I just keep being myself, and like, I think I'm a little bit weird, and I think that comes across on my channels. I think that my personality helps to distinguish me, but I think it's people just will find you and they'll like what you're doing. Like, I don't think I'm very special. I think there's a million other bloggers out there. I think that I just work really hard. I'm really consistent. I post to my blog once or twice a day, every single day, even Saturdays, and then I post to Instagram 2 to 3 times a day. And I think it's mostly hard work. That's probably what I would say. I don't think I'm particularly special, and I don't think my style is even particularly special. It's a lot of work and a lot of just engaging with people and letting your personality shine through.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I think you definitely learn from looking at other people, and I think you can pick things up and admire other things that people do. But I think just keep doing what you're doing and know what it is that you want, the message you want to send, and being really consistent with that is what's going to make you stand out. And like you said, it's really a lot of hard work, and we're pushing out a lot of content every day, and just doing that in itself and having that be on brand is it's so important. So.
Alexa and Grace, this was a real pleasure for me, and I don't often get the opportunity to hear the other side of the story, so this was fascinating. I just want to thank you for coming down here, sharing your story. Unfortunately, we don't have more time. If anyone in the audience does want to reach out to them, you can reach out through the program. Thank you.
Thank you.